anyone, if you know anything, please contact the news channel, contact the police department, contact somebody. All we want is you home.
A very emotional plea from the father of missing person, Jared Chavis. Hey everyone, it's John Lorden here. Is there something we can do to help Willie find out what happened to his son? I've been in contact with him over the past few weeks trying to understand this case more. We're now coming up on a year of Jared being missing. Is this a straight missing persons case, or did something much more terrible happen? It's time to turn on the searchlight. Hey everyone, John Lorden here. I'm a little bit under the weather, so let me apologize in advance for my voice, but this is a really important case and I wanted to get it out. I also want to thank Christian Hum for the new Brainscratch Searchlight intro that you just watched. He's been working very hard on new intros for all the shows, so please let him know what you think in the comments down below. Let's start diving into this case at NamUs. Here we have the profile for Jared Wayne Chavis, a male who is African American. Date of last contact was January 12th, 2018, and there's some varying stories. One of the stories is apparently he spoke to his mom on the phone earlier in the day, but then we have a couple of sightings later in the evening. We're going to touch on those as we go forward with the coverage here. He was 19 years old at the time that he went missing. He would now be 20 years old. And let's see what we can learn from the profile. 5'9" in terms of height. His weight is between 175 to 185. For circumstances of disappearance, they note last seen entering a black Ford Focus or Fusion with 3 other males near the 9100 block of Westheimer in Houston, Texas. I'm still wondering about the validity of this sighting. I've been talking to his father, Willie, about this, trying to get an understanding of who this information is coming from. Because quite honestly, Willie has told me that he has spoken to several of the people that were with Jared that night, and he's got all kinds of varying stories happening. Even when he goes back to the same people, the story seems to be changing time and time again. So I'm really not sure how solid this last sighting of Jared is in terms of the detail, but that is the official story on this. For his hair color, it is noted as black. He has brown eyes, and he has several tattoos. The first, it's described as a Helen Welch praying hands on his left arm. And unfortunately, I can't find any photos. Willie didn't have any photos. And I'm not positive if Helen Welch is an artist that did some type of depiction of the praying hands and that it's the actual praying hands that are on his arm. Some places are reporting that the words Helen Welch are actually on his arm. So I'm just going to put all that out there. I'm not positive at this point exactly what the detail is on that. Also, JW on his left bicep. According to his father, he actually has J on his left bicep and C on his right bicep. So he's got his first and last initial. Is it possible the W's in there too? Maybe, but his father did not give me that same information. He also has another tattoo that says, "No weapon for me and against me shall prosper," and that's on his left forearm as well. For clothing and accessories, he was wearing denim jeans, a red hoodie, a white t-shirt, and a denim vest. For footwear, he had orange LeBron James tennis shoes on. And they don't have transportation noted here. He did have a car. I don't know if the car was with him at the time that this is going on. This is another kind of interesting aspect of this story that we're going to touch on as we move forward. But here at missingveterans.com, we learn that Jared was also at one time serving the country. Jared Wayne Chavis is a U.S. Air Force veteran who went missing after last being seen around 9 p.m. Friday, January 12th, 2018 in someone else's car in a CVS pharmacy parking lot on Westheimer Road in Houston, Texas. Now, let me tell you guys, I think I've got the right CVS, but there's 7 different CVSs within a 10-mile stretch on Westheimer Road. I've matched up this one in particular to news footage that I've seen of this case. So I believe it's a CVS close to the 9100 block. I think it's 92 something. I can't remember it quite off the top of my head. But that's a little important because there's another aspect of this story where, here it is, 9292. there's another aspect of this story where there's another crime that happened around this same time, and there is some question of, is Jared possibly involved in that crime as well? But we'll touch on those details as we continue. He last spoke with his mother by phone on January 12th, 2018. His car was found at a nearby gated apartment complex. The car was unlocked and had the seat covers removed. So very strange occurrence. And of course, I know many of you out there are probably thinking, did something bad happen in his car and people were looking to remove evidence and that's why the seat covers were gone? Possibly. I'm also wondering if maybe something bad didn't happen in his car but happened somewhere else. However, he had given rides to people that were part of that and they wanted to make sure they couldn't be traced, so they went and removed the seat covers, something along those lines, but I'm not sure. Over at abc13.com, we get some more information. The Louisiana parents of a 19-year-old are in the Houston area to find their loved one who disappeared late last week. Police confirm that they are investigating the Air Force veteran's disappearance, but parents say police told them the car is suspected of being involved in a robbery. Chavez may be a suspect in the incident. So this is where the story really starts to take a bit of a twist, and there's kind of several different things that could be going on with this story. We have the possibility that there was some crime that happened that Jared was a part of. Maybe he's on the run and it's been a year at this point, and for some reason, despite seeing appeals from his family, he's just not coming back to face up to whatever had happened. But the stories that are being told to his father when his father's going around asking about this are much different. Those stories are alluding to a crime being committed against Jared and the possibility that he was actually shot in a vehicle, not his own, in someone else's vehicle. And those are some of the stories that I told you about, that when Willie is going and asking about this stuff, the stories seem to keep changing. There are several different versions of, well, I heard gunshots in that car, I ran out, I know Jared was in the car, I never saw him after that. There's a lot of different versions of that story that Willie has been told. So it's tough. I almost hope that it's more of the case of Jared being on the run, because then we would know that he's alive and healthy somewhere. But there's a lot of talk in this case where there might be something much more tragic that's going on here. But let's continue. The parents do not know what role, if any, the 19-year-old may have played in committing a crime before he went missing. His parents said he was pursuing an information technologies degree online and working for a satellite dish installer. Now, that's one of the things I've seen in comment threads on this case. People are wondering, well, he was in the Air Force, but he's 19 years old and it seems like he's not in the Air Force anymore. What happened with that? I reached out to Willie, asked him about that. He said that Jared found the Air Force was not a good fit for him, and he got a general discharge from the Air Force. But he did want to get his information technologies degree. He was working on that. He was also doing these satellite dish installations. And that's part of the question about why would he have been involved in a crime? I talked to Willie about this. I'm like, did Jared ever ask you guys for money? And he said, no, never. Jared never needed money from us. And they've looked into his accounts and they can tell that Jared had money in his accounts at the time that this happened. So why is he going to be involved in what seems like some type of petty theft crime? I don't know. And I guess there is a possibility perhaps that there was some type of drug interaction or drug deal that's going on around this. That's really the only factor that I can think of about this crime that's kind of wrapped up with, having Jared's name attached to it, that might be feasible, that isn't necessarily involved in money. It's clear from the information that he was with several men. They were all in the same car together. By most descriptions, I'm hearing that it was 3 other men and him in this car. So what was going on was maybe one of the other men involved with something, and Jared happened to be there at the time. It could be something along those lines as well, but let's continue. Over at patch.com from March 12th, 2018, Crime Stoppers in the Houston Police Department's Missing Persons Unit need the public's assistance identifying the suspect related to this missing persons case. Well, excellent. So now we're at least hearing about a suspect. On Friday, January 12th at 10:39, Jared Chavis met up with the suspect, known only as Bolt Suave, in the 8800 block of Westheimer Road. So once again, We're looking at that area where the CVS is. We're pretty close. We're just a couple blocks away from that. And we also know that there's a crime that happens in this area around this time as well. Witnesses said that Chavez was riding in the back seat of a Ford Fusion driven by Bolt Suave, and that at some point they began arguing. During the argument, a witness told investigators that gunshots were fired in the car, but have not said if Chavez was wounded or killed. According to that same witness, Chavez never got out of the car and has not been seen since. So I also asked Willie if Bolt Suave has been identified at this point. It seems like the police and Willie don't have the best communication going on. So he's kind of having to make assumptions based on how they react to certain things that he brings to them. He found a name that he thought might be Bolt Suave and passed it on to them. And they seem to say, no, that wasn't him. So from that assumption, we could say that there's probably a good chance that they've identified this Bolt Suave person. Have they questioned him? I have no idea. They did tell Willie that they were going to look into this other name that he passed along to them as well. But Willie also noted that they took Bolt Suave's name off some of the later posters. So it seems like law enforcement may have spoken to Bolt Suave, but his identity has not been released publicly. Of course, if you have any information, please use the contact details down in the description box below. Send that information in. Maybe you know who Bolt Suave is. We're just kind of assuming that they might know who he is. I don't know that for a fact. So if you happen to know someone in that area going by that name, please send that information in. Again, let's just make sure that they have it really good and clear. And outside of that, maybe that vehicle with that person, maybe some combination of that information rings some memory for you. Please use that contact information down below. Over at klfy.com, the family of a missing veteran is hoping to find him in time for his son's first Christmas. If this story wasn't tragic enough, on top of all this, Jared is also a new father. His son is now 7 months old. The family is offering a $10,000 reward for any information that may lead authorities to Chavez or info leading to the arrest of anyone involved in his disappearance. And here we have a picture of his father, Willie, with his 7-month-old son. Very, very tragic. And of course, some of you out there might be thinking, is this possibly some motive for him to disappear? Considering that his son is 7 months old and this article is from November, that means that his son was probably born in March. So he probably had some idea that he was going to be a father leading up to that. Did he want to run away from that responsibility for some reason? I don't know. I don't know enough about him personally, but just in the realm of theories that we can discuss about this case, I think that that is one that we should consider. However, with this information, we're hearing about a possible shooting in a car. I think that's really the main theory we need to focus on. And Crime Stoppers has also put up a poster here talking about the $10,000 reward. I believe that is still active, so I've included all the Crime Stoppers contact information down below. And the great thing about Crime Stoppers is you could submit that info anonymously and still be eligible for the reward. They basically give you a number, a randomized number, and if you see that that crime is solved later, you can call them back with that number and they'll tell you, was that the tip that actually solved the case? And if it was, you can collect that reward. So all that information is also down below. And here is a picture. His parents believe this is taken the day that he went missing. So we think this is what he was wearing in terms of clothing. You never know what piece of the puzzle investigators need in a case like this. So take a good look at this picture. Maybe you recognize him from that night. Maybe you were at that CVS. Maybe you saw something around the area that ties to this case in some way. You never know what little detail could really help the authorities with this. So let's try to get those tips called in. Web Sleuths does have a thread here. It's only 1 page long, but there's a very interesting development that someone found. RMT953 said, so here's what's odd. This was reported happening the same night, same location. And they have a link to a news article, man shot in arm in West Houston parking lot. And they're showing a check cashing place. Now, if we go back to my map here, the CVS that we're looking at is literally on the same block. And it looks like it's probably just a few minutes. I think it's a few minutes drive. It might even be a few minutes walk from where this check cashing place is, which is at this corner of Fondren and Westheimer. So is this possibly the crime that is related to Jared, or that the authorities think he might have been involved with? Let's get some more details here. William Chavez, 22, was taken to a local hospital with a gunshot wound. He told police he was jumped by two males who assaulted him and demanded his wallet. Now, you guys are probably thinking, well, John, yeah, we've got something happening in the same area, but that might not necessarily be connected. You might be right. However, I've heard this name before, and that's when I was on the phone talking to Willie. So I know that Willie has definitely looked into this angle of there being some connection with William Chavez and his missing son. Is there a lot there? I don't know. And we're kind of treading into rumor territory, so I don't want to put out anything that I would say is false information, but I did just want to make you guys aware that it seems like this William Chavez event might be related to Jared's disappearance. And I think that's about as far as I'll put it. I just want to put it out there like that, because if you guys might know William Chavez, maybe you saw him going through, obviously he went through something. The guy got shot in the arm, but maybe you heard different parts of that story that police might not know about. We want that whole story to be very clear for them, because that story might lead us to the truth of where Jared is or what happened to Jared. And his family certainly deserves that. So I want to give a big thank you to Willie for, of course, all of his help. And someone else who reached out to me on Twitter and basically got me in contact with Willie, I want to thank you as well. This is a very tough case because we've covered what's been out in the media here, and you can tell it hasn't been a whole lot. And we're now coming up on, it's going to be a year that Jared has been missing. And is this a straight up missing persons case? Is this really a homicide investigation? I don't know. And I think authorities might have been flip-flopping between that as well. We've got this very strange element in terms of Jared's car being found in a gated community, which he apparently didn't know anyone in that area. So it seems like someone knew it would be a good place to hide a car, and they took his car there to hide it. But we've got a young man that, yeah, maybe the Air Force wasn't a great fit for him, but he seemed like he was putting his life on track. He was going to school. He was making money doing dish installations. He had credit cards. He had accounts with money in it. That's why I'm really bothered by this aspect of, if this William Chavez incident is really the same crime that they think Jared is related to, demanding his wallet, I'm just not buying that that's really what happened in this case. I think there's something much deeper that's going on here, and there's a good possibility that people are covering up for each other because they might be afraid of additional charges, possibly being accessories to a murder if Jared was indeed shot in the vehicle. Possibly there is some type of drug deal or something along those lines that they're afraid of getting busted for as well. I don't know. It's just, talking to Willie, this isn't the type of kid that was coming around asking for money all the time. They looked into his accounts. They saw that he had money. So is he really going to be part of jumping a guy for his wallet? I don't get it. But maybe you guys have some ideas on that. Let's talk about it in the comments below. And please remember to be respectful. I am positive Willie is going to be reviewing these comments, looking for any piece of information or theory that could help him potentially in his continued investigation into this. And if you guys have any questions, pop those in the comments down below as well. We will be doing an update on this case on next week's Searchlight. So maybe we can get some more detail out there and hopefully help Willie find the answers. Where is Jared? What happened to Jared? It's a heartbreaker of a case. We have a father missing his son, and we have a son missing his father. So maybe there's something you can do to help with that. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Searchlight. Once again, my apologies. My voice is really busted up, but I wanted to get this done today, and I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you back here on Friday with a new Brainscratch.